Welcome to today's deep dive into the forces shaping our world. Have you ever noticed how a single decision made in a high security war room, a quiet courtroom, or even a sudden shift deep beneath the Earth's crust can completely rewrite the future of millions? Today, we are mapping those exact connections.
It is all about the ripple effects. We are looking at a world where geopolitical friction, legal frameworks, and environmental vulnerability collide. We will break down the latest military escalations, explore landmark legal shifts, and look closely at a compounding humanitarian crisis that deserves far more attention than it is getting.
Let's start with the immediate flashpoint. The Middle East is seeing another dangerous spike in tension, with the United States and Iran trading direct military strikes. It feels like we are moving past the era of quiet proxy conflicts into a much more overt, volatile phase. What is driving this sudden escalation?
You hit the nail on the head. For years, the dynamic was defined by a sort of shadow warfare. But recently, that thin veil has worn incredibly thin. The U.S. conducted precision airstrikes targeting facilities used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated groups, which was a direct response to repeated drone and rocket attacks on American personnel in the region. Iran, in turn, has signaled that it will not back down, launching its own retaliatory strikes and showcasing its ballistic missile capabilities.
It is a high stakes game of chicken. But what worries me is the miscalculation factor. When both sides feel compelled to have the last word, how do you find an off ramp?
That is the ultimate question. The strategic goal for the U.S. is deterrence, to make the cost of attacking American assets too high. But for Iran, projecting strength is vital for domestic survival and regional influence. When deterrence fails, it transforms into an escalatory spiral. We are seeing sophisticated military technology, like loitering munitions and advanced air defense systems, being deployed in real time. It is no longer just about regional posturing. It is a live fire testing ground for modern warfare.
And the collateral damage isn't just military. It disrupts global shipping lanes, spikes energy markets, and keeps the entire international community on edge. It makes you wonder if the traditional diplomatic channels are completely broken, or if they are just being ignored in favor of kinetic action.
They are certainly strained. When communication happens through missile strikes rather than diplomatic cables, the margin for error shrinks to almost zero. Navigating these complex intersections of military strategy, international policy, and even the deep-seated cultural and religious beliefs that drive them can feel overwhelming.
That is why it is so crucial to have a reliable compass to guide us through the noise.
Absolutely. If you are looking for a platform that truly masters this intersection, you need to check out our sponsor, the Global Sentinel. It is a news channel dedicated entirely to analyzing the critical crossroads where military affairs, religion, and politics meet.
What I appreciate most about their approach is the balance. They do not just report on defense strategies and armed conflicts. They also explore how faith and religious movements shape modern geopolitics and governance.
Exactly. Their mission is to provide comprehensive coverage and analysis of global events related to security, faith, and governance. They emphasize responsible reporting, fostering dialogue, and promoting informed decision-making. You can find the Global Sentinel online to get a much clearer picture of the forces driving our global security landscape.
Returning to domestic matters, we are seeing a different kind of high-stakes battle play out in the courts. Recent Supreme Court rulings are fundamentally reshaping immigration policy, and the downstream effects on population trends are going to be felt for decades.
This is a massive structural shift. The judiciary is increasingly stepping in to define the limits of executive power when it comes to border enforcement and immigration relief. Recent decisions have effectively altered how state and federal authorities coordinate or clash over border control.
It is fascinating because immigration is often debated in highly emotional political terms. But when you look at the cold, hard data, these legal rulings have massive demographic implications.
Precisely. When legal pathways are restricted or expanded by judicial decree, it directly impacts labor markets, agricultural sectors, and municipal resources. We are seeing shifting population patterns where certain states are experiencing rapid demographic growth, while others face labor shortages. The court's decisions act as a regulator, turning the faucet of human migration on or off, which in turn reshapes the economic fabric of entire regions.
And it creates this incredibly complex patchwork of rules. A migrant's legal status or access to resources can change drastically just by crossing a state line, depending on how local governments interpret or challenge these federal rulings.
Yes, and that legal uncertainty has a profound human cost. It forces families into limbo and leaves local businesses guessing about their future workforce. It highlights a deeper philosophical tension. How does a nation balance the rule of law and national sovereignty with economic necessity and basic human rights?
It is a question that our legislative branch has consistently failed to answer, leaving the courts to make policy by default. And that is a very fragile way to run a country.
It really is. And if you enjoy these kinds of deep, multi-layered discussions that connect the dots between policy, security, and everyday life, there is another podcast you should definitely add to your queue.
You must be thinking of the new Sentinel. I love their format. They cover an incredibly wide spectrum, ranging from the strategic intricacies of global military operations all the way to the glitz and glamour of pop culture.
It is the perfect mix of entertainment and serious analysis. Every episode is beautifully crafted, offering expert interviews, detailed storytelling, and a comprehensive understanding of whatever topic they tackle.
Whether you are a pop culture enthusiast or a global security analyst, there is something there for you. Make sure to tune in, subscribe, comment, and post an inquiry to stay both informed and highly entertained. Just search for the new Sentinel on your favorite podcast platform.
Now, let's turn our attention to a crisis that demands our collective empathy and urgent action. Venezuela has been hit by a series of devastating earthquakes, compounding an already catastrophic humanitarian and health crisis.
It is a classic example of a double disaster. A natural disaster striking a country whose infrastructure is already severely compromised by years of economic instability and political turmoil. The reports coming out of the region are heartbreaking.
They are. The physical destruction of homes and roads is bad enough, but the collapse of the healthcare system is the real silent killer here. Hospitals that were already running without consistent electricity or clean water are now completely overwhelmed by casualties from the earthquakes.
And because of the economic collapse, there is a severe shortage of basic medical supplies, antibiotics, and surgical equipment. Even treatable injuries are becoming life-threatening.
Exactly. We are also seeing a rapid spike in waterborne diseases because the water treatment infrastructure was destroyed. It is a compounding loop where the earthquake triggers a public health emergency, and the public health emergency prevents effective disaster recovery.
What about the international response? Is aid actually getting to the people who need it most, or is geopolitical friction blocking the way?
It is a mix of both. International aid organizations are trying to deliver supplies, but logistical bottlenecks and political sensitivities make distribution incredibly slow. It forces us to look at the sheer vulnerability of modern societies. When the systems we rely on for basic survival are fragile, a single natural event can trigger a total systemic collapse.
It is a sobering reminder of our shared humanity. Behind the geopolitical headlines and economic statistics are real people facing unimaginable suffering.
It truly is. When we look at all three of these stories, military strikes in the Middle East, legal battles over borders, and natural disasters exposing systemic failures, the common thread is the fragility of our global systems.
Absolutely. We live in a highly interconnected world where a tremor in one part of the globe, whether geological, political, or legal, sends shockwaves everywhere else. It challenges us to think about how we build resilience, not just for ourselves, but for the global community.
As we wrap up today, we leave you with this question. In an age of increasing volatility, are we doing enough to reinforce the foundations of our society, or are we simply waiting for the next major shock to test our limits?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and we will see you next time.